Next, I would like to introduce our Cloudcroft High School class of 2016, valedictorian, Mr. Clifford Cofacia.
Good morning, my fellow graduates. It's been a long 4-year term, and we're coming up on the end of it now. And I'm sure that a lot of you will be happy to see me go. But just know that in these 4 years, we've accomplished some great things. And we will continue to accomplish great things. I'm just kidding. That's not my actual speech, but Jordan said she'd pay me $50 if I did that. Jordan, I know I didn't do the whole thing. We'd be here for hours, so I'll take a 20 and I'll see you after we're done. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Denny and the Board of Education. Hi, Ms. Island. Mr. Dempsey, Mrs. Daugherty, Cloudcroft teachers, distinguished guests, fellow graduates and classmates, parents, friends, families, and Mr. Bookie. It is an honor to be speaking with you this morning. When I was writing this speech, I wanted it to be special and different. And by that, I didn't mean that I didn't want to repeat the same things that Dalton would have included in his speech. So before I wrote mine, I had to write his. I didn't write his for him. I just had it planned out in my head. I figured, like me, he would probably Google what a person is supposed to have in a graduation speech. Reflections of the past, plans for the future, and that he would do them justice. You see, let me tell you some things about Dalton. He's an Eagle Scout, a loyal friend, a true gentleman, a perfectionist, and one of the hardest working people I know. He takes things very seriously. As a result, I have been a major source of irritation for him since the 3rd grade. My approach is somewhat different. I acknowledge the difficulty, but then try to make things fun. Life should be joyful, says me. And so, as Dalton addressed the seriousness of the occasion with the proper decorum, I have some less poignant and less reverent points to make. We all know the cliches that people always repeat on these occasions. We've all worked so hard to get to this spot. Guys, this is not the end, but the beginning. We are the future. Everything you have done in your life has led you to this moment. Yes, Amit and Sam, I know I stole that from Amit's graduation, but I liked it. But more importantly, says me, we know exactly what we need to know to move forward from here. Just enough. We don't have to know everything. We only need to know that we don't know enough, so that we can go out into the world or to college and learn what we don't know. As Bill and Ted said, the only true wisdom comes from knowing that you know nothing. That's us, dude! Actually, I think it was Socrates who said that, but most of my knowledge just comes from movies anyway, so. And when we look at some of the other things that people have done or didn't listen to, we might feel a little bit better about our lack of knowledge. In 2010, a woman's husband threw away a $181 million lottery ticket. In 1999, a NASA orbiter costing about $125 million was lost in space because half of the team used the English system of measurements while the other half used the metric system. Some measurements were a few centimeters off, or inches. And then there's my mother, who's a very well-educated woman and probably the smartest woman I know. But when she was my age, she thought that when people couldn't make ends meet, they were talking about inexpensive luncheon food, like bologna. For example, as if you could go to Subway and say, "Yes, I would like a 6-inch ends meat on wheat." To which the subway artist would then reply, "I'm sorry, we just can't make ends meet." I find comfort in this. Our lack of knowledge at this point really isn't something to be too concerned about. But regardless, when I think about the future, I get terrified. As Morgan Freeman in The Shawshank Redemption said, "Terrible thing to live in fear. I just want to go back to where things make sense, where I won't have to be afraid all the time." Of course I can't, and life is not going to be easy. Mistakes will be made. The right answer to situations won't always be clear. It will be a struggle, and for a while we're going to have to face those challenges alone. And that's scary. But then I remember something I learned and was repeated often in Mr. Scott's calculus class. If it's easy, you're doing it wrong. Life is like calculus. If it's easy, then you're doing it wrong. And that gives me some hope for the future. And as Andy Dufresne says in The Shawshank Redemption, hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. And I am very hopeful for the future. I hope that Dakota, Justin, Alex, and River use their welding and mechanics to help build our future. I hope that Gabe, Joel, Selena, and JC achieve their careers in criminal justice. I hope that Jackie and Elizabeth use their art to make the world a more beautiful place. I hope that Luke, Dalton, and Rodrigo become engineers and make something beneficial to society. I hope Adriana gets her degree in business management. I hope that Aaliyah one day can start her own bakery. I hope that Kadon, Jordan, Drew, Rainey, Amy, Cayman, and Rebecca all achieve their careers in medicine and go on to save lives and make a difference in the world. I hope Zach gets his degree in geology and goes on to work in the oil fields. And I hope that someday Dalton will finish his research paper for Mrs. Gillespie to his satisfaction. And I hope that on my first day of college, when I go into the dining hall and sit down, someone sits next to me. I hope it's a girl. And I hope that when that happens, Rainey O'Connor is just a little bit jealous. Because back in elementary school, now I'm totally over this, but back in elementary school, she said she was going to marry me. And now she claims she's forgotten, but I know she hasn't. I know you haven't. Just saying. But I hope. It has been a privilege being your classmate for the past 10 years. I hope that you will all live happy, interesting lives. Know that we will be watching you on Facebook and following you on Twitter and celebrating your accomplishments with you. Now go out into the world and do something. It doesn't have to be something revolutionary or something life-changing. It just has to be something that makes you happy. To the teachers, on behalf of our graduating class, I thank you and I hope you know what you meant to us. I consider you not just teachers, but friends, even though, when I was in the 6th grade, Mr. Terry threatened to kill me. That's okay, though, because I gave him a cold and I hear he suffered, so we're even. And Mrs. Gillespie, you are the scariest friend ever, with your deadlines and your poetry. But still, I thank you. So, farewell, and in the words of Obi-Wan Kenobi, may the Force be with you, always.